right. Cool. So I left off having just finished reading the special rules. So next up is traffic markers. And I think actually I'm going to finish reading the rules of play this time. And then next time I'll start going through the playbook. And I installed Vassal on my gaming PC, or the newest version. And I installed the Holland 44 latest module so that I can start going through the example of play. But for today, traffic markers. Page 26. Let's go down here. Traffic markers. Recording's working. All right, let's do this. Traffic markers. Traffic markers in general. The German player may place available traffic markers in an attempt to slow the movement of Allied mechanized units. Traffic markers have no effect on Allied non-mechanized units and German units. Non-mechanized, so that would mean like infantry and trucks, I think. Design note. These represent the traffic jams that occurred at the critical bridges and choke points along the highway. Actually, I want to know, are infantry and trucks mechanized? Yes, they are. Okay, they're mechanized, but they're not vehicle type, and they're not armored. So this is mechanized, this is vehicle type, this is armored. Got it. Okay. It's a little bit strange to me that the Germans are allowed to place the traffic markers. Although I guess it makes sense in the sense that the German player is going to be maybe more fair about putting it in a place where you would expect there to be more traffic than if like the Allied player had to do it, or if they had to agree on where to put them. So I can see the justification there. All right, effects of traffic markers. Traffic markers have the following effects. They increase the entry cost, road and off-road, of the hex by 2 movement points for all mechanized Allied units. Road and off-road, okay. I think that means if you're entering a hex via a road, that's what road means. And this means a road, can you put them anywhere? Yeah, I guess you can put them anywhere. But I think this also maybe means that if a hex has a road in it, and you enter through a hex side that does not have a road, you still pay the extra cost. Something like that. All right, traffic markers force all mechanized Allied units advancing after combat into the hex to stop and end their advance. No breakthrough combat is allowed. Okay. It seems like a bit of an edge case situation. I'm trying to imagine a situation in which that would happen. But okay. Mechanized units using tactical movement ignore traffic markers. Traffic markers have no effect on combat, retreat, and supply paths. Okay. The traffic marker phase. During this phase, the German player may place on the map any of the markers available in the traffic marker holding box or arriving from the turn record track. Removal. After placement, he rolls 2 dice and removes the traffic markers with the ID of those die rolls. For example, if a 2 and a 4 were rolled, remove traffic markers number 2 and 4. If doubles are rolled, then only 1 marker is removed. If a number is rolled For a marker that is not yet in play, then there is no effect. Place the removed traffic markers back in the traffic marker holding box for the next turn. Traffic markers are never voluntarily removed once placed on the map. They are removed only as a result of the removal dice roll. Traffic marker placement restrictions. Traffic markers may not be placed on or adjacent to one another. Okay, that's a big one. Traffic markers may not be placed in a hex north of all British mechanized units. You can't cause traffic in hexes that the British Second Army has not reached yet. So this one, to me, is making me think that if you were sending out your recon vehicles, that would also allow the German player to place traffic markers further forward than they otherwise would be able to. Okay. Beyond those two restrictions, they can be placed in any hex, in or out of enemy zones of control, in hexes occupied by enemy units, behind or in front of enemy lines. So you could put them in woods, although that wouldn't do anything, but it would be nonsensical. Beyond those two restrictions, they can be placed in any hex in or out of enemy zones of control, in hexes occupied by enemy units, behind or in front of enemy lines. Only traffic markers that are in the traffic marker holding box may be placed. The ones already on the map may not be repositioned or removed. At start situation. In the traffic marker phase of turn 1, the German player may place 3 traffic markers, number 1, number 2, and number 3. He gets 1 additional marker each turn until they are all in play by turn 4. Unknown units. Second edition note. An unknown unit is now revealed immediately when an allied unit moves adjacent to it. In general, unknown units represent the possible presence of one-step German units. They start on their unrevealed ? Side and are only revealed when an allied unit moves adjacent. If the back is a 000 garrison unit, it has no effect and is immediately removed. If the back is a unit with a defense strength, it remains in the hex. Properties. While on their unrevealed side, unknown units are considered combat units and have the following properties. They may not move. They have no stacking value. They have no stacking value, but no more than 1 is allowed in each hex. They have a zone of control, but cannot be used to form a zone of control bond. How would you even get more than 1 in each hex if you can't move them? They count as German units for the purpose of bridge demolition or rewiring a bridge. Allied units may not use extended movement to move adjacent to them. Okay. Revealed unknown units that are combat units are treated as regular combat units in all respects, and may not become unknown again. Some of these units have a movement allowance of 0, cannot move, and are eliminated if forced to retreat. Revealing lone unknown units. When an allied unit moves or advances adjacent to an unknown unit that is not separated by an unbridged major river hex side, the unknown unit is revealed. If it is a 000 garrison, then it is removed from play, and the allied stack may continue moving and advancing with no delay if not stopped by other revealed units in the hex or adjacent hexes. Revealing a 000 unknown unit does prevent extended movement for the moving allied unit. If the unknown unit is a combat unit, then the Allied stack must stop its movement. Okay. At start location, place the 21 unknown units in their starting hex before the game begins on their unrevealed side. Neither the German nor Allied player may examine their backside until revealed. For ease of setup, the hexes containing unknown units have a yellow dot in them, for example 6314. Moving unknown units. Starting on turn 3, the German player may reposition one unrevealed unknown unit per turn during his movement phase. The German player picks it up without observing its back and may place it back down on any town or city hex under the following restrictions. The town or city hex does not contain nor is adjacent to an Allied unit. The town or city hex has a road-bound supply path to a German-controlled entry area. Is that it? Okay, this is a key one. This is a key one. I didn't know the German player could do this. And it's like, even if it's bypassed, even if you have a unit that was bypassed, you can move it all the way back to Arnhem. So there doesn't, it's saying you don't need to have a path. You don't need to have a supply path from the unit's original location to its new location. Okay. Okay, well, got it. How to win. The victory check phase. Victory is checked in the victory check phase of each turn. The game ends immediately if either player achieves an automatic victory. German automatic victory. The German player wins the game if, during any victory check phase, the Allied player has not yet achieved his victory conditions, and he accomplishes one or both of the following objectives. Eliminate or force the removal of all Allied units from the north side of the Lower Rhine. So basically that's where Arnhem is. Oh, I have this vassal now. I can show. So this topmost river is the Lower Rhine. Yeah, you can see it in blue here. Lower Rhine. So if you kill all these airborne units up here, that's what they're talking about. Accumulate 12 victory points. I don't remember how you get victory points. I think you get victory points by killing stuff. Allied automatic victory. The Allied player wins the game if, during any victory check phase, he has 10 or more VPs. Oh geez, I gotta charge my battery. And at least one non-airborne unit north of the Lower Rhine that is able to trace a supply path to entry area N. Entry area N is like the bottom of the map. Any German VPs accumulated at that time are ignored. Right, so what that means is if you get a non-airborne unit above this river, and you can do it at any of these points, like at any of these crossings, here, 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 there are a bunch of places where you can do it. It doesn't have to be at the Arnhem Bridge, the orange one here. So all you need to do is get a non-airborne unit north of this river, and then, oh, and it has to be able to trace a supply path back to entry area N, which is this bottom part here, which is, you know, that's probably the harder part, maybe. And then you need 10 VPs, which I think comes from capturing cities, holding cities. Okay, endgame victory. If neither player has won an automatic victory by the end of the game. Then players tally their VPs, and the player with the most VPs wins. Ties go to the German player. Victory points. Allied VPs. VPs are awarded to the Allied player for control of certain hexes on the map, and for getting non-airborne units across the Lower Rhine to the north side. If the German player recaptures a VP hex, then the Allied player loses the VP until he can regain control of the hex. VPs are awarded to the Allied player for the following: 1 VP for each city hex he controls. There are 11. Eindhoven, so Eindhoven is, no, that's Nijmegen. Eindhoven is the southern one. So you can see this is where you start at the bottom. So Eindhoven is these 3 brownish hexes. Helmond. Helmond is where? Hex 2914. Here, this one. Sertogenbosch. Not sure what that means. This almost looks like they did like a find and replace. Maybe that's the name of it. Okay, let's look. 4301. 4, 3. Oh, yeah, that's how it's, yeah. Well, but here it's S apostrophe, and here it's apostrophe S. Sertogenbosch. Okay, well, it's this hex. Nijmegen, which I know how to pronounce because I looked it up. So that is these 2 hexes. Teal, hex 5606. Okay, that's this hex here. And Arnhem, hexes, so it's these 3 hexes. Okay, so how many hexes is that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Really? There are 11. And you need 10. You need 10 VPs. Okay, so you also get VPs for other stuff. 1 VP for the town of Overloon. Hex 35124. Overloon. 352. 352. Okay, here we go. This one. Okay. 1 VP for the town of Venray. Hex 3225. So that would be this one. Okay, so these 2 are worth 1 VP. 1 VP for each non-airborne, non-breakdown Allied unit that is north of the Lower Rhine and is able to trace a supply path to a south map edge supply source. Okay. Examples. So you don't get VPs for killing German units. Okay, that's important. So you only have 11, 12, 13. You have 13 hexes that you can get VPs for. And then if you get 1 non-airborne unit, that's 14. So there's not a lot of leeway here. You really have to capture all of these. I mean, it seems like you have to have a go at capturing all of these. Or almost all of them. Teal is way out over here. And Arnhem, that's a really hard one. So like if you just gave up on Arnhem, that's 3. You'd have to capture pretty much everything else. Yeah, this one's way out of the way. So, I mean, to me, that's suggesting that a clear thing where you want to send these forces that are on the right over to the right to capture these 2. These forces that are on the left, maybe you want to send them over this way to capture this and teal. And then this main force you want to send up this highway to go for Nijmegen. Yeah. I don't see another way to do it. Okay. Examples. The Allied player would have 10 VPs if he controlled Eindhoven for 3 VPs, Nijmegen, 2 VPs, and had 5 non-airborne units across the lower Rhine, and able to trace a supply path for 5 VPs. Okay. So the question is, how easy is that to do? So I guess you could ignore these side objectives and just go straight up the middle. Or maybe just take it as things come. You know, remain flexible to do either of them. Okay. German VPs. The German player is awarded 1 VP for each Allied 3-step unit eliminated. Actually in the eliminated pile, not when reduced to a remnant. All other Allied units count as 1/2 VP. Exception. The German player is not awarded VPs for breakdown units or airborne supply heads. Okay. So this is something I've been experiencing when playing Arete, which is that when your units get step losses, you want to pull them back to deny VPs to your opponent. And it's almost a little bit counterintuitive, because you would think, well, what's the difference between, like, why do they get a VP for that final step loss and not for the step losses prior to it? But that's just the way the game is written. Where are we? Note: if the German player eliminates an Allied engineer or bridging unit, he would gain 1/2 VP. If the Allied player restores the unit, the German player would lose the 1/2 VP. Okay, that's good to know. Also somewhat counterintuitive. Okay. Optional rules. Disengagement. Purpose: a way for the phasing player to retreat during the combat phase. The disengagement table. On a 1 to 3, no. 4, yes. 1 step loss. 5, 6, yes. Treat results greater than 6 as 6 and results less than 1 as 1. Die roll modifiers. +1 if the unit or group is mechanized. +1 if the unit or group's TQ is elite. What's TQ? They don't define it. Okay. Troop quality? Maybe that's what it stands for. -1 if the unit's troop quality, or at least 1 unit in the group, is low quality. If disengaging as a group, or at least 1 unit in the group. If disengaging as a group, these positive modifiers apply only if all units in the group qualify. A way for the phasing player to retreat during the combat phase. Okay, yeah, this is a cool rule. Why wouldn't they be able to retreat during the movement phase? What does retreat mean? What does disengagement mean? And what does retreat actually mean? Does that mean like cancel an attack? Okay, procedure. Any unit or stack, including disrupted units, that does not attack in the combat phase and is adjacent to an enemy unit can attempt disengagement. A unit may either attack or roll for disengagement. It cannot do both. Disengagement can be resolved at any time in the friendly combat phase, before, during, or after all combats. The unit must be adjacent to an enemy unit. To resolve the attempt, use the disengagement table. The owning player can roll once for each unit in a stack, or roll once for the entire stack, his choice. The phasing player may see the result of each attempt before deciding to conduct the next disengagement attempt. Results. If the modified die roll is 1 to 3, the unit does not retreat. A 4 result causes 1 step loss from the unit or stack. A yes result allows the unit to retreat 1 or 2 hexes in any direction, following the procedures for retreats. If the unit retreats, it becomes disrupted, but recovers normally in the upcoming recovery phase. Play note. This rule is helpful for units attempting to escape a closing pocket. They can try to retreat forward or out of the pocket. Example. The German unit is moved to hex A during the German movement phase, and then a disengagement is attempted during the combat phase. The attempt is successful, a die roll of 5. The German player retreats his unit to hex B and marks it as disrupted. Okay, I get it. So you would use this in addition to the movement phase. Very helpful explanation of the justification or the rationale. Got it. Okay. I could see this being useful in Arete. Isolation attrition. Night turns only. During each night turn, all friendly units except airborne supply heads, which were marked out of supply from a previous turn and are currently isolated, suffer isolation attrition. Isolation attrition occurs during the friendly supply phase. Definition of isolated. A unit is isolated if it cannot trace an overland supply path of any length to a friendly supply source. Airborne supply heads. Any allied unit that can trace a supply path to a depleted airborne supply head is exempt from isolation attrition. Procedure. Roll 1 die for each isolated unit and consult the isolation table. If a stack is isolated, roll for each unit in the stack. Isolation table. On 1 to 4, you lose a step. On a 5 or 6, there's no effect. Okay. Die roll modifiers. +1 if the unit is elite or an allied unit, not cumulative. -1 if the unit is low quality. +2 if the unit can trace an overland supply path of any length to 1 or more city hexes. Got it. Treat modified results less than 1 as 1 and greater than 6 as 6. Results. -1 step. The unit is reduced 1 step. A unit can lose its last remaining step. A unit can lose its last remaining step due to isolation attrition. No effect. Nothing happens to the unit. Play balance. Ziegler and Richter. The 2 SS units that start in hexes 1406 and 1408 may only use tactical movement on turns 1 and 2. Starting on turn 3, this restriction is lifted. Experienced players have found that if you rush the 2 SS mechanized units on the front line, Ziegler and Richter, back to Eindhoven, you can cause a lot of trouble for 30 Corps. We did not foresee this when testing the game, and it is not historical to allow it. The German units on the front line would not have reacted so quickly on the first day. Okay. Scenarios. The short game. Setup and scenario data. Game length, 11 turns, starts on turn 1 and ends in the victory check phase of turn 11. First player starts with the Allied air landing phase of turn 1. There is no weather phase, artillery resupply phase, or bridge phase on turn 1. Setup. Use the setup card. Markers, traffic markers. Markers 1 to 3 start in the traffic marker holding box. Place the other 3 on the turn record track, 1 each in turns 2, 3, and 4. Moved markers. Place all 5, 3 British and 2 German, in their holding boxes on the map. Air unit markers. Place both in their holding box. Both may be used on turn 1. Airborne replacement markers. All 4 markers start at 0. Bridges markers. 4 bridges along the Bocholt-Herentals Canal start the game blown. Oh, interesting. Where's that? Oh, I think it's this. Yeah. Right. These 4 bridges are blown. The bridge at 1303, 1404, Joe's Bridge, is intact. So that's this one. Other markers. Place the turn marker on turn 1 of the turn record track. Place the 2 weather markers on clear in the weather track. Place all other markers aside. Scenario victory conditions. The Allied player wins if he has at least 4 steps of non-airborne units on the north side of the Vaal River during the victory check phase of turn 11. The Vaal River is the second, the third? Yeah, it's this. I think it's this one. Yeah, there it is. Vaal. So it's not the northernmost river, it's the second one. So if you have at least 4 steps of non-airborne units on the north side of that river, and you're able to trace a supply path to a south map edge supply source. Otherwise, it is a German victory. Okay, so I guess the idea is if you're in that situation by turn 11, there's a good chance you'll be able to get a victory in the longer version. S2, the campaign game. Setup and scenario data. Game length 20 turns. Starts on turn 1 and ends in the victory check phase of turn 20. First player setup, same as the short game. Markers, same as the short game. Scenario victory conditions C26. Okay. Oh, I think we're just about done. Expanded sequence of play, index. Okay, let's read the rest of this. Hints for players. German player. Don't forget to send some of your von Tettau units to the island Betue to help defend the Vaal River line. The railroad bridge at Rhenen is good for that. So they're talking about this part between these 2 rivers. This is an island. There we go, there's the name of it. The road bridge at Rhenen, 6010, so that would be here. Yeah. Railroad bridge, got it. Even if you lose Nijmegen early, you are still in good shape if you hold the far side of the bridge in strength. Okay. As long as the front line is near the edge of the map, you can keep your artillery units in the entry areas and provide support from there. Okay. Keep a few units in entry area B to force the Allied player to guard against that area the entire game. Entry area B is this one on the left. Got it. Because they can come in from anywhere and cut supply lines. So you'd have to keep a unit, Allied unit, like over here. Maybe here at this crossroads. There is a balance between defending the island of... How do you pronounce this? I gotta look this up.
Hello, this is Hans the Dutch guy with Much Dutch. And this time we will see how to pronounce in a regular Dutch accent Betuwe.
Betuwe. Let's hear that one more
A
time.
region, see how to pronounce in a regular Dutch accent Betuwe. A region in the Netherlands. This is the way we say Betuwe.
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 There is a light emphasis
Okay, I more or less get it. Betuwe.
on the first syllable. Tuwe, region in the Netherlands. This is the way we say Betuwe.
Betuwe. Betuwe. There's a balance between defending the island of Betuwe and eliminating the 1st Airborne Division. So the 1st Airborne Division is the one that lands here at Arnhem. Let's see if we can see that. That one right there on the counter. That's what this designates this as the 1st Airborne Division. So there's a balance between defending the island of Betuwe and eliminating the 1st Airborne Division. The more units you send to the island, the longer it will take to reduce the 1st Airborne Division. And if you don't send enough units to the island, then all your efforts at reducing the 1st Airborne pocket will go to naught. Keep the 107th Panzer Brigade together. Don't spread it out. Using the demi-battalion stacking rule allows all 5 units to fight in the same hex at full strength. Where is the 107th? Is that off? Breakdown. Do they have the reinforcements? No. Where would I look for that? 107th. I'm gonna guess that's a reinforcement. So let's see if I can see the reinforcements. Player card? Setup card. Okay, this order of appearance. Can I zoom this in? 107th Panzer Brigade. So I'm looking first for a Panzer icon, like a circle or an oval shape. Oval shape. Okay, here we go. That's it. Okay, so I don't need to look for an oval shape. I just look for the Panzer icon. There we go. This is it. 107, 2 steps, and that minus means it's a demi-battalion. And then where's the rest of it? So here's another one. Any others? That's 3 steps if you combine them. Oh, not that one. This one. Okay, that's 4 steps. Is there any others? I think it's just those 2. Yeah, I'm not seeing any others. Okay. All 5 units. Okay, I got it. What? 5 units. Are there some that start on the map? (406th Division). Where do these guys come in from? 6K. Turn 6. Entry area K. So K is the east. Here. Well, they're not on the map already. Unless there's infantry. Panzer Brigade. Maybe there's infantry in the same... Oh, okay, yes, right. So this is mechanized infantry. So that's 3 units. Any others? I'm going to look for units of the same shade of color. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4. And this one, 5 engineers. Okay. Understood. Use the Pannerden ferry at 5626 to move 1 step each turn onto the island. Nijmegen needs to be reinforced as quickly as possible. Pannerden Ferry. Okay, so that is, I looked at that before. That is this ferry here. Pannerden Ferry. So you're trying to cross units here and then bring them down to Nijmegen. Allied player. Even if you don't get an airborne battalion to the Arnhem Bridge, a battalion or two next to it will slow down the German player from getting units to Nijmegen. It is crucial that the 1st Airborne Division secure drop zone Y for the 4th Parachute Brigade landing on day 2. Drop zone Y is, what's the command to hide your units? Alt H. Okay. Drop zone Y, this one. Okay, don't need to hide units for that. It is crucial that the 1st Airborne Division secure drop zone Y for the 4th Parachute Brigade landing on day 2. If the drop zone is overrun, you can delay the landing until the following day. Send the 43rd Division straight up the road behind the Guards Armored Division. You'll need it in the fighting between Nijmegen and Arnhem. 43rd Division straight up the road behind the Guards Armored Division. 43rd. Let's look at this. Okay, that's as big as it gets. Send the 43rd Division straight up the road behind the Guards Armored Division. So 43rd, looking for 43 on these lines here, all the way on the right. 43. Okay. Not seeing it. Send the 43rd Division straight up the road behind the Guards Armored Division. Straight up the road behind the Guards Armored. Where's the Guards Armored? The Guards Armored Division is the lead formation. Oh, right. This is Allied advice. Looking at the wrong units. Send the 43rd Division. Okay, so where's that? Where are they? Okay, so GDS, that's the Guards Armored Division. 43rd. I guess that's reinforcements coming for the Allies. Looking for a 43 on the right side of this line of text. That's airborne. Here we go, this. 43, 43, 43, 43, 43, 43, 43, 43, 43. Okay, so it's this light blue formation. Oh, I don't have to look at every individual line. I could just look at the background colors, and those are the different formations, different divisions. Okay, send the 43rd Division straight up the road behind the Guards Armored Division. You'll need it in the fighting between Nijmegen and Arnhem. Okay, so when they come on, that's quite late, turn 9. That's day 3, day 4. So they're gonna come straight up this road, and I need them to fight around here. Got it. Move your bridging units up as fast as you can. If the bridge is at best and zone, how do you pronounce? Zone.
Hello, this is Hans the Dutch guy with Much Dutch, and this time we will in English. This is the way we say zone.
Zone. Zone.
Zone.
Zone. Okay. If the bridge is at best and zone, zone are out. So where's best? Here's zone. Best is here. Okay. So that's pretty far down the map. If the bridges at best and zone are out, make sure your bridging unit can arrive at the bridge by turn 4 to start fixing it on turn 5. So turn 4, that's just 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the second day by the PM turn. Got it. Your airborne units are great in providing the morale shift in combat, but if you use them too much, you'll make it easy for the German player to win. On turn 2, send a few units from the 101st to Eindhoven to help the Guards Armored Division advance. Okay, so that is Eindhoven here, and they're talking about these green units here. So I guess you want to use these units to attack these two bridges and then send them south to Eindhoven. Got it. So that's a very prescribed opening, right? That's quite a lot of units. Okay. So maybe keep one unit here to defend. Keep your engineer units out of combat. They are too valuable. If one gets eliminated, it should get priority for the one replacement you get every 3 turns. Okay. The Germans can hold Nijmegen for a long time, so more often than not, you will need to cross the Waal via a major river assault. Be prepared for that. With an elite lead formation and artillery support, you can almost always get across. It is the counterattack you have to worry about. Got it. So what they're saying there is this could be very difficult to break through. So what we'll need to do is attack across the river here. And the thing is that in order to get the points for the non-airborne units north of this river, they need to be able to trace a supply path. And the only way to do that, there's an overland portion and then the road portion. So the overland portion can go across this river at any of these, what are these called? Ferry points. Or the railroad bridge or this Arnhem Bridge. But then the road portion cannot use the ferry points. So the road portion is going to have to come across at Nijmegen. So that's really what the battle for Nijmegen is going to be about. It's going to not be so much a method of advance. It's going to be the supply. It's going to be a way to get supply to these units. So it doesn't have to happen until, you don't have to clear that route until the very end. Although, if the units are here, they could end up out of supply. So I don't know. Maybe you do have to get this done earlier. Anyway, an artillery unit south of the Waal has the range to provide defensive artillery support to the 1st Airborne at Oosterbeek. So this is the Waal. So an artillery unit south of this river can provide artillery support to airborne here. This location is a perfect spot for the 43rd Division's artillery unit when it arrives. Okay, well, they don't give a specific hex, but I'm going to guess it's this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or do you not count this first hex? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, that's a 7, yeah. Okay, that's all the hints. And now let's read the expanded sequence of play just for thoroughness. So first you have the weather phase. Weather is determined for both the AM and PM turns at the start of the AM turn. Skip this phase on PM and night turns. You have the Allied player turn, and the German player turn, and then the victory check phase. Automatic victory is checked at this time. If neither player won an auto victory, the turn marker is advanced one space and another turn is begun. A player turn comprises the following phases. Artillery resupply phase. Allied player turn only. Flip any two non-airborne artillery units that can currently trace a supply path to entry area N. Flip all if clear weather, or one if cloudy weather, Allied airborne artillery units that can trace an overland supply path to their divisional airborne supply head, itself with an overland supply path to a safe drop hex of its division. German player turn only. Flip any two artillery units that can currently trace a supply path to a friendly entry area. On a night turn, flip all artillery units that can trace a supply path to a friendly entry area. So, day turns only 2, night turns all. Got it. The bridge phase. Start the repair of bridges where a good order Allied bridging unit is present, or where automatic repair is possible. German player turn only. Attempt demolition of bridges that are wired for demolition and within 1 hex of an Allied unit. Rewire a bridge for demolition. A bridge may never be rewired and blown in the same phase. The air landing phase, Allied player turn only. Place arriving airborne units in an eligible drop hex and roll on the airborne landing table. If landing on an enemy unit, conduct that combat at this time. The movement phase. So I guess you would land on an enemy unit if... Yeah, I guess that's an option for you. You're allowed to do that. Okay, the movement phase. Place reinforcements in their entry areas. Conduct any of the activities below in any order. Move some, none, or all units. Merge units or create breakdown units. May replace disrupted marker with full retreat. Reveal unknown units that are adjacent to Allied units, except across an unbridged major river. Okay. Conduct auto DS combat against any defending hex where at least 10-to-1 odds are obtained. Indicate the units that participate in that attack with auto DS markers. Airborne units starting on turn 2 may receive returnees. Indicate those that do with a replacement marker. During night turns starting on turn 8, receive 1 replacement if Allied or 2 replacements if German. All units that receive replacements are marked with a replacement marker. Allied player turn only. The German player may attempt demolition of bridges that are wired for demolition. The combat phase. Some, none, or all friendly units may conduct combat against adjacent enemy units. See combat procedure. Breakthrough combat can occur if the CRT result is Defender mandatory retreat or Defender shattered. Allied player turn only. The German player may attempt demolition of bridges that are wired for demolition. The recovery phase. All friendly disrupted and full retreat units that are not adjacent to an enemy unit recover 1 level. Roll on the rally table for those friendly units that are adjacent to an enemy unit. Note, units may be kept in full retreat. Remove all spent, engaged, replacement, and scattered markers from friendly units. The supply phase. Mark all units that are out of supply with an out of supply marker. Remove out of supply markers from those friendly units that can now trace a supply path. Optional rule. On a night turn, roll for isolation attrition of all units that bear an out of supply marker at the start of the phase and are currently isolated. Allied player turn only. Replace eliminated airborne supply heads. Okay. The traffic marker phase, German player turn only. Place any traffic markers from the traffic marker holding box or arriving from the turn record track onto the map. Roll 2 dice and remove the traffic markers with those ID numbers. And that's it. I have read through the entire manual. I am so proud of myself. Cool. And I read through it thoroughly, not just skimming. Okay, so tomorrow I will start on the playbook, not this. This. I can close that. And then once I get through the playbook, I can actually start this game with this guy. And then once I play this game, I'll be able to hopefully quickly try some of the other games in the system. Very cool.